Hi Comrades, happy Monday. If you're new here, I usually do horror movie reviews, horror series, and horror book reviews, but today's video is going to be pretty much the same because I'm going to be reviewing yet another horrible horror movie. I'm pretty sure it was like PG-13. The movie that I'm going to be talking about today is called Morbius, and I just watched it. And I mean, when I was watching it, I was pretty entertained, but then when the movie was over, I'm a little bit confused what happened. This video is going to be full of spoilers, so if you don't like spoilers, this video is probably not for you, but let me just get into it, okay? So let's start with the characters. Michael Morbius, played by our favorite Jared Leto. So he plays Morbius, kind of like a Dracula spin-off, sort of. And I guess he's from Spider-Man comics. I vaguely remember him from Spider-Man, like animation series that I used to watch as a kid, but he was way more buff, and I'm pretty sure he was like taller, and I don't think he had long hair. I don't really remember much from his like original story, nor do I care enough to find out. TBH. Anyways, he has some kind of sickness that we don't know what it is, but he knows what it is. But for some reason, the writers decided not to tell us what it is, and he decides to find a cure, and the cure is to be injected with like bat syndrome. I don't know. Basically, he like injects himself and turns into a vampire because bats like to drink blood, and somehow he develops like supernatural abilities to jump really fast and be super strong, even though I don't think bats can do that, but okay, whatever. Then we have his love interest. She's literally just a filler character, like a typical superhero movie character where she's there to kind of help out a bit and then kiss him and then die at the end. Spoiler alert, she dies at the end. But I didn't really care about her death because the movie didn't really care enough to like tell us anything about the character, so she was very flat. And when she died, I did not give a shit. Then we have a bunch of cops that are also filler characters, and they're there just to create conflict for Morbius. And they like try to find who's killing people around town, and we find out that's not even Morbius because the actual guy is his best friend, which is really stupid because this movie does like a typical 90s/2000s superhero thing where the villain of a superhero is literally just like the superhero, but he's evil. But we don't really know, like, first of all, the movie doesn't show us how he turns into a vampire also. He just kind of does, and then he tells us that he took the cure also because he has some kind of disease and he wants to cure it. And the movie does that a lot, where it kind of, like, a lot of things are happening off screen and we're just supposed to run with it and pretend like, oh, okay, that happened, I believe you. So yeah, his friend, his name is like Moby or Toby or something. I don't even know. What was his name? So Google says that his name is Loxian Crown, but his name was literally Milo. So I don't know how like Milo is short for Loxian, but his name was Milo in the movie. So Milo, he was his best friend, and then he took the cure, but we didn't see it, and he also turned into a vampire, but he's evil because he likes being a vampire and he likes killing people. And then for some reason, so Morbius tries to fight Milo and like stop him from killing people for obvious reasons because he doesn't want people to die. But Milo is fighting Morbius because why? Like why, like the conflict goes one way, but why is it going the other way? Is he fighting him because he's fighting him? It doesn't really make any sense. There's also a character I kind of don't even remember. He's supposed to be like a mentor to Morbius, and he also dies at the end at the hands of Milo, but we also don't really care about him because there was not enough, like, we don't know anything about these characters, and I don't think the characters know anything about themselves. So I don't really know like what this movie is trying to be, but it's really stupid. So yeah, at the end of the movie, Milo kills the girl that somehow is the romantic interest, even though they literally had like no chemistry, but they did kiss, and she was kind of like helping Morbius a bit, and Morbius gets really mad and fights Milo and then kills Milo, and he's like sad because his best friend. And then a bunch of bats come. Oh yeah, that's how he kills Milo, is a bunch of bats come and like help Morbius. And then at the very, very end, like bats come out of the ground, then all the cops are like, oh wow, bats. And one of like the main cops, he's like, that's strange, there's bats like flying out of the ground. I guess by his face we're supposed to tell that the cop knows that it was Morbius. But why didn't he just say so? Why do you have to make like a weird face? And then there's a weird like post-credit scene. There's actually 2 post-credit scenes, but the first post-credit scene is a guy, he randomly ends up in jail and he doesn't know like where he is or something. I don't know. And then another post-credit scene where Morbius goes to the middle of the desert to meet some guy, and then they like team up against Spider-Man. But I don't really understand how Morbius became a villain, because this entire movie he was trying to be like not a villain, but he was trying to be like an anti-hero. Like he was evil, but he was also good. But then in the post-credit scenes, he's supposed to be a villain, and I don't really understand how we got to that point. Jared Leto was actually not as bad as he was in the Suicide Squad, or his acting, if you remember his laugh in Suicide Squad. The story was also very predictable. Honestly, by like halfway through the movie, I knew what was going to happen already, and the characters were really undeveloped, and some of the parts didn't really make any sense, just because so many things were happening off screen that we were just supposed to be like, oh, okay, that happened. So yeah, do we hate Morbius or do we hate Jared Leto? I think it's both. Morbius's movie was really, really boring, and I guess it's like a setup for more movies, but after such a flop of a movie, I don't think anyone is gonna want to watch like sequels or whatever, or like connection movies like in the Marvel universe. Jared Leto himself, he's not that great of a person, is he? I'm asking this question to myself. I know that I think he's not that great of a person, because I'm pretty sure he was like pretending to be disabled and call it like method acting, which is kind of weird, because I feel like people only method act when they play like a horrible character, instead of like method acting as a doctor or something, you know what I mean? He did like the same thing as he did in Suicide Squad, where he sent condoms to fellow actors and shit like that. But in this time, he pretended to be disabled off screen, which is just props to him. Good job. Amazing method acting. If I had to rate this movie, I'd probably rate it like a 2 out of 10. I mean, I was slightly entertained, but it was also kind of boring. All the fight scenes kind of blurred together. You couldn't really tell what was happening on screen because of all like squiggles that they added in editing, and every time there would be like a punch or something, you didn't really know what was happening because of the squiggles. So yeah, I'm just glad the movie was short. If you stay this long, I really hope you subscribe, because I post pretty often, at least once a week, unless I'm dead and I don't post for 2 weeks. But we don't talk about that. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, I really hope you give it a like and subscribe if you like horror movie stuff or just horror stuff. Alright, I'll see you in my next one. Bye, comrade.